Go ahead, ma'am.
Yeah, sir. So, statistical inference is a part of inductive statistics, or it is an interchangeable term that can be used for inductive.
It is just another term for inductive statistics.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Just another term. Statistical inference is just another term for inferential statistics or inductive statistics. Any other question? Okay, so now I'll start presenting my screen to you. Okay, so from here on, we take up our discussion forward. The place of statistics in research process. So I had told you earlier that we cannot isolate statistics or statistical methods from research simply because statistics is useful only because it can help you solve or investigate or inquire into a problem. And research basically takes upon itself the task of investigating a problem. And then it uses lots of techniques to solve or to investigate the problem. Statistics happens to be just one of them. So let's start the limitation, the place of statistics in research process. You know, just imagine that you have to investigate a problem. Let's say I'm giving you a problem and you just think of as to what will be your first step to investigate a problem. Let us say somebody says that crime rate has gone up. We must try to control it. So suppose someone told you this, that crime rate has gone up and we must try to control it. Now, suppose you are a police officer or you are someone who is interested in doing research in different kinds of crime and how to control it. Now, just think of it. What will be your first step towards solving a crime or towards uh, investigating a crime? Not a crime, towards investigating crime in general.
So first of all, we'll gather up the data.
So the first step is collection of data. This is the first step. Very good. Excellent answer. Collection of data is the first step. Now, how do you collect data?
So from the
So,
records.
Any
Primary and
from the record?
secondary sources.
Okay, so
primary and
basically
Primary
data
and
can be
secondary
collected.
sources.
Yeah, data can be collected either from primary source or
or
from
secondary source.
secondary source. Any idea what is the difference between the two?
Yes, sir. Primary sources are the are the data which are collected for the first time by the investigator himself, and
Very
secondary
good.
data are already collected data by someone else.
Very good. Excellent. So basically, secondary data is something which is already available in published record or in the records of some office, maybe the crime office or the prime minister's office or the home minister's office. It is already available in the records which have already been published. Primary data happens to be the data where the person who is trying to collect the data happens to be the first person to collect that kind of data. So that is why we call it primary. So if you are the first person to collect some data, you will be called the primary source. Now, once you have collected the data and you have made that data available to the general public, then if I collect the data from, let us say, a newspaper, then that for me that will be a secondary data, but for you that will be a primary data. Now, next question. Suppose you want to investigate crime and you find that there are some information which you need which are not available in the published record, like newspapers or magazines. Then what will you do? How do you collect that data?
By contacting the authorities which control like police stations and
Yeah.
all.
So you will have to go for primary data. You will have to go for primary data. Now, how do you collect primary data? You connect with people whom you think can give you the answer, isn't it? So, what do you do when you contact such people who can give you the answer of that question? You ask them some questions. You may have already written down all the questions on a piece of paper. Then you approach the person who you think can give you the answers, and then you take the consent of the person to get the answers of those questions. You start asking those questions, and then you start recording that person's answer. Now, what do we call the list of questions? We call it
Questionnaire.
a questionnaire, right? We call it a questionnaire. For example, your questionnaire may look something like this. What is your name? Which place do you live in? What is your experience with crime rate in your locality? What are the major types of crimes which are committed in your locality? What do you think? Who commits those crimes, etc.? So that will be your questionnaire. So now, once we have this brief idea about data and collection of data, let us just go through this particular statement. Statistics proper, that is what we know statistics as it is, does not include measurement problems such as the construction of indices. I hope you know what is indices. Indices is the plural of index. So you must have seen lots of index. Human Development Index, Social Status Index, Price Index, Output Index, Industrial Production Index. All those things are called index, and its plural is called indices. So when you study statistics, remember that it does not include measurement problems such as construction of indices or scoring of items on a questionnaire. Questionnaire, I have already told you, is a list of questions. What is scoring? Suppose you ask a question in which the answers can be scored, can be graded, like 1 for the best answer, 5 for the worst answer, something like that. That is called scoring. So all those things are not part of statistics. What are they part of? Any guess? What we are saying is that collection of data is not part of statistics. What is it a part of?
They are the
The
part of
research
investigation.
methodology.
They are the part of investigation.
Search methodology. They are part of investigation, of course, but how to write questions, how to conduct interviews, how to collect primary data, they are basically part of research methodology. They are not part of statistics. Statistics क्या है? Statistics involves a manipulation of numbers under the assumption that certain requirements have been met in the measurement procedure. Now, this is something which I must emphasize a great deal on. You must ask me question if you have not understood the importance of this particular sentence. Go through it. Ask yourself, whether you have understood the meaning of this question or not, this statement or not. Statistics involves a manipulation of numbers. What is manipulation of numbers? Manipulation of numbers means data analysis. For example, when you calculate arithmetic mean or when you calculate standard deviation, that is part of data analysis. Likewise, when you present data by means of a pie chart or by means of a bar chart or a line chart, they are part of data analysis. But all these data analysis, that is manipulation of numbers, is done under the assumption that someone who collected the data has done his or her job well, that all the requirements that are needed to be fulfilled in order to collect the data have been fulfilled by the person who has collected the data. Otherwise, it is not the job of the statistician to investigate whether the data that someone else has collected is correct or incorrect. Are you understanding what I'm saying? So there are 2 points. One is data collection and the other is data analysis. In which subject do we study data collection and which techniques?
Research methodology.
Just a moment. मार्गीटा मेरा क्लास चल रहा है. हाँ, तुम मेरा वो क्वेश्चन भेज देना, हम लोग आंसर ले लेंगे. ठीक है, उसको भेज दी हो ना. हाँ, एक तो निकाल के उसको कोई बना के भेज देना. ठीक ठीक. Okay, so there are 2 parts of our discussion: data collection and data analysis. Which subject do you study data collection and its associated issues? You study it under research methodology. But when it comes to data analysis, then we study statistics. So these 2 are separate things. Are you able to understand it? Someone should respond.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So it is
Yes, sir.
something like this. You know, it is something like this, that the job of the researcher is to ensure that correct data have been collected. And then what does the researcher do? He simply gives the data to a statistician for analysis. So these 2 are separate things. But actually, you cannot be a good statistician or a good researcher unless you know both, that is data collection methods as well as data analysis methods. That is what we will discuss in the next statement.
Sir, just one thing, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, doesn't the manipulation of numbers phrase also tells ki like we are arranging or accommodating few numbers like which are in how to say, sir, like which are actually
I
deviating
understand what
from,
you are.
yeah, it is actually deviating
You
from the mean, but we are arranging it to the mean.
you are actually hinting at the ethical aspect of manipulation. The word
Yes,
manipulation,
yes, sir, exactly, sir, exactly, sir.
isn't it?
Yes, sir,
So
exactly.
basically, that is not what we are indicating at. Data manipulation simply means data churning. Data churning. We simply churn the data. You know, when you churn milk, then what do you get out of it? When you churn milk, you get butter from it.
Butter.
Yes,
So,
yes.
yeah. So butter is hidden in the milk, but can you see the butter? You cannot. But you can extract butter from milk only after you have churned it. So basically, there are certain conclusions which are hidden in the data file, but we can identify those conclusions only when we churn the data, only when we analyze the data. So if you have a problem with the word manipulation, I will remove it. But basically, manipulation of number in this case simply means churning. It simply means churning or data analysis, right?
Sir Shravani Roy, this end. Sir, I have a question. Like whenever we search a product on Amazon, Flipkart, or any site, then after that, if we use YouTube or other Google app, then we get advertisement there, the same product that we have searched for. So, is this come in this subject only?
This is, I don't know. I mean, once you have searched for something uh, over the internet,
They
then
get
whichever site you visit, you will get an
yes,
advertisement for that product.
they
If
get the data of all that what we have searched for.
Yeah, I
So
understand.
this
So
is
if you have
related to
searched
data
for, say, let
science.
us say a washing machine
It's AI, sir,
in
artificial intelligence.
Amazon, that is actually that is I don't know what is it called, artificial
Data
intelligence or
analytics.
Internet of
This is
Things.
data,
Digital
It's more
data
marketing.
related
I don't
to
analysis.
know.
Digital
data,
marketing.
digital marketing. It's more related to
Digital
digital
marketing.
marketing. Digital
Yeah,
marketing.
yeah.
Digital marketing.
Uh-huh. So it is digital marketing, but they are identifying the people who are looking for a certain product, and then somehow next time when you visit any other website, you will find that there is an advertisement of that product from different companies or from different sources. So this is artificial intelligence, I believe. I think you are right. Artificial
So
intelligence,
this is the work of a
and
data scientist.
Sir,
yeah,
actually,
this is the,
this is actually pretty basic.
It's a
Sir, the
separate branch,
cookies,
sir. It's a data
The deep
science.
learning, machine learning, both comes in artificial intelligence. So this comes under that only, sir. AI.
sir, sir, it's
yeah,
actually
yeah.
pretty simple. The cookies that we enable in a website, they are used to track our browsing history. That's it. It's just that simple.
Yeah, and then they provide the same sort of information, or maybe they mechanically insert that information whenever you visit a website next time.
Yeah, data, a type of data mining, sir, data mining.
Yeah, maybe data mining, maybe artificial intelligence. I do not know what is the term that we use for such a thing. But there is a facility wherein you can remove, or you can ask Google not to show you such an advertisement next time when you visit the website. There is a facility. You can ask Google not to show it. They will ask you a few questions. Why are you not interested in this kind of an advertisement, etc.? But you can safely ignore it. There are built-in controls through which you can control what kind of advertisements are shown to you.
Okay.
Okay, so what I was saying is that uh, technically speaking, remember I'm saying technically speaking, these two are different fields. One belongs to research methodology, and the data analysis part belongs to the statisticians. However, look at new the next sentence. A highly sophisticated statistical analysis can rarely, if ever, compensate for a poorly conceived project or a poorly constructed data collection instrument. What does it mean? It means that if your data are not reliable, if your data are not valid, then irrespective of the amount of the sophistication which you have used in statistical analysis, your conclusions will still be faulty. It is something like, if your inputs are highly substandard, then irrespective of the cooking method that you have used, you will not be able to come up with a mouth-watering recipe or a dish. So basically what we are saying is that statistical analysis gets into the picture only after data has been collected. So it is ultimately dependent on the quality of data that you have been provided with. If the quality is suspect, if the data are not reliable, if the data are not valid, then even if you are using some professional statistical analysis methods like factor analysis or discriminant analysis or canonical correlation or multivariate analysis, nothing can compensate it because your inputs, that is your data themselves, are faulty. So what is one important conclusion that you must be able to draw from this last statement? Can anyone summarize what I have said in the last statement?
So
Anyone?
if the data collected is invalid in nature, is faulty by nature, so how much of a sophisticated statistical analysis we are applying, the results are ultimately will be of poor quality.
Yes, very good. Excellent. Very well put. So basically, the quality of your conclusion depends on the quality of
Quality of
input.
data.
Yeah, if your quality of data is suspect, then even if you have done your statistical analysis in a fantastic way, your conclusions will still be faulty, right? Okay. Now, the next thing that we will discuss is scales of measurement. You know, why are we going to discuss this important concept called scales of measurement? Now, I'll give you two variables, and you have to tell me how can you measure them. Let us say first variable is income. Income of a person or income of a nation. Then let us say another one, weight. Weight of a person or weight of an object. And the third is love. How much do your parents love you? These are the three variables, x1, x2, x3. Tell me, which variable out of these three can easily be measured, directly be measured?
So wait,
Weight, income.
Weight and income.
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 Wait,
The income.
Weight and incomes.
So let us say there are three persons, A, B, and C. A's income is 100 rupees, B 200 rupees, C 300 rupees. So who has higher income?
C.
C.
Highest
So
income
we
is
can't
C, lowest income is,
we can't say that because period of time is not given over here.
sorry?
Sir, because it's not mentioned whether it's the monthly salary or the annual salary or a weekly salary, what salary it is. It's not mentioned.
Fine. Let us assume that whatever the units, they are all equal. In case of
Then
all
C has
persons,
the
they are all
maximum
equal. They are
salary.
all say,
Then C has higher salary.
Then first C.
then weight, 50 kilos, 60 kg, 70 kg. So you can say C is highest,
Yes, sir.
A is lowest.
Yes, sir.
But now, let us ask this person A, how much do your parents love you? What would he say?
A lot.
You
So it is an
So we can say in
abstract
term comparative.
thing. It cannot be measured.
be measured.
Sir,
So
it cannot be quantified.
It
be
cannot be
quantified,
measured.
right? So if someone says my parents love me 50%, this person says my parent loves me 40%, and this person says my parents love me 100%, then you will probably look at these numbers with a little bit of suspicion, isn't it? See, how can someone say that my parents love 50% and someone says my parents love me 100%? So basically, when it comes to variables like income or weight, there is no problem at all. You can easily and directly measure it. But when it comes to something like love or motivation of, let us say, employees working in a company, or attitude of a person towards something, say attitude of a person towards politics, or attitude of a person towards religion, or attitude of a person towards judiciary or society, then it will be difficult for us to measure it. Why do we measure something? First of all, let us ask this question. Why do we measure 100 rupees, 200 rupees, 300 rupees? What is the point in measuring it? Any thoughts on it? Why do we
Sir,
measure it?
relative
Let us say,
comparison.
To have a comparison.
You are stuck.
can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Now you are audible.
Yes, sir. Now you're
So
audible.
just power went off, so I have connected it with my phone. So now I'm audible, na?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes,
Now,
sir.
can
You
you
are.
see the screen also?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes, sir. We
Yes,
can
sir.
see it.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. We can.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. So I was saying that there may be two kinds of variables. One variable is easily measurable. The other variable is either not measurable or can be measured only indirectly. Now, let me ask you one very simple question. Have you heard of something called IQ test?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
What
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
what do what through an
IQ
IQ
test.
test?
The
How
percentage of
efficiently
intelligence.
a person's
Intelligence.
Percentage
What
of
does
the
how
IQ stand for?
Intelligence of a
how
Intelligent
person.
quotient.
Intelligent quotient.
Intelligence
Intelligent
quotient.
Intelligence
quotient.
question.
Intelligent
It
quotient.
is intelligent quotient,
question?
intelligence quotient. So measure a person, when you measure a person's intelligence, then it is called in it is done through intelligence quotient test. But I was probably asking a different question, na? I had asked a different question when the power went off.
So why do we
What was
measure?
the
Why do we
question?
Sir, why
why
we
do we
measure
measure?
things?
Yeah.
Why do we
So I'll
measure
come
things?
to this IQ thing later on. Let me
How
first ask you this question. Why do we measure anything? What is the need for
Sir,
it?
sir, to
how
Sir, we want to
compare.
get
efficiently
For
accurate idea
comparison.
for comparing.
and how efficiently a things works?
So the basic reason as to why we measure things is to demonstrate values, which really goes as an extension of measuring to show results. And it can also be used for comparison of activity or measuring the benefit with cost.
Basically, we measure something so that we can say who has less and who has more. Got it? Have you got
Yes,
it?
sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Say, for example, when we give you marks in your examination, what are we doing? We are only measuring your performance in the exam, isn't it? We are measuring your performance in the exam.
Yes, sir.
What is the purpose behind measuring your performance? So that I can find out who is the best student, who is the second best student, who is the least best student, or who is the worst student. So basically, what I'm trying to do is only I'm only trying to uh, put all of you in a continuum wherein I can say that you are better or worse than this or that person. That is why measurements are made. That is why measurements are made. Let me just try to connect with my broadband data, because otherwise I'll not be able to do a lot of things. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Okay. Okay,
Yes, sir.
okay, okay. That's fine. Great. Thank you. Hmm. So basically we measure something only in order to say that who is more or who is less. Now to the next question. There are some easily quantifiable variables like weight or height or weight, height or income. But there are some variables which are either not quantifiable at all or can be quantified only under certain assumptions. So when we say how much are you loved by your parents, then this particular variable love is something which we cannot directly measure and say that your score in this quotient is 70 and someone else's is 80. That is not directly possible. But you are now a student of social science, and there are many variables in social science which are not directly quantifiable. And I have already told you some of them. For example, attitude or motivation of a person, or social status of a person, or love and affection showered by your parents on you. These are something which we are not able to directly measure. But still, social scientists and measurement specialists have come up with something called scales through which they can even measure what is not directly measurable. That is why the measures that we have, or the measurements that we have, are of different levels, and the levels are called scales. So let us go through those levels. As we go through all the four levels, you will be able to understand what they are and what they are not. So there is something called theoretically defined concept, and there is something called operationally defined concept. My dear friends, please pay full attention on this discussion. This is something which we will again discuss in research methodology paper, but here it is important to mention it in passing that there are two kinds of definitions. One is called theoretical definition, the other is called operational definition. So when we use the term intelligence, then look for the meaning of the word intelligence in a dictionary. What do you find? Let me find out what is the meaning of the term intelligence in the dictionary. Intelligence. Intelligence, uh, intelligence Intelligence is defined as the ability to acquire and apply knowledge and skills. So this is the theoretical definition. But when you appear in an IQ test, then you answer some questions in that test. And on the basis of the score that you get in that test, the test administrators will classify you either as highly intelligent or moderately intelligent or low intelligent. So the two definitions will be different. The theoretical intelligence, which means ability to acquire and apply skills and knowledge, is not directly measurable. But when you construct some questions which are seemingly associated with what you believe intelligence is all about, then the result is what we call IQ test. So the way we define intelligence by administering the IQ test is called the operationally defined concept, and the dictionary meaning of intelligence is what we call theoretically defined concept. Now look at the next sentence. The higher a person's social status, the lower his prejudice towards minorities. Now quickly tell me, what are the two variables in this sentence? What are the two variables which we can see in this sentence?
So social status
So
and prejudice.
One is
Minority.
social status,
Social status
the
and
other is
minorities.
Prejudice.
prejudice. Another is prejudice. So what we are saying is that social status and prejudice towards minorities are related in a negatively way. The higher the person's social status, the lower the prejudice. The lower the social status, the higher the prejudice. But in order to test whether such a hypothesis is correct or incorrect, you will need to measure social status, isn't it? You will need to measure prejudice towards minorities. So how do you measure it? That is what we call operationally defined concept. It is not possible to measure social status or prejudice directly, but one still needs to measure it somehow. Measures in pure sciences, for example, physics, are straightforward, but they are not so in social sciences. Therefore, we have several levels of measurement. There are not several levels of measurement in physics. There is only one scale of measurement in physics. But in social sciences, there are four scales of measurement. What are they? Before we come to what they are, remember that first you will have to answer this question before you can decide which statistical technique to apply. You have to first know whether the data belong to a specific scale or not. Once you know which scale the data belong to, then only you will be able to say which statistical technique shall I apply. So that is why we say that statistical techniques are scale specific. And I'll explain this a little more a little later. So what are the four scales of measurement? The first scale is called nominal scale. Second is called ordinal scale. Third is called interval scale. And fourth is called ratio scale. Sometimes the last two are simply called interval scale. So in that case, you can consider only three scales, but normally we do distinguish between interval and ratio scale also. Remember that the first two scales are what we call qualitative scales, whereas the last two are quantitative scales. In pure sciences like physics and chemistry, it is quantitative scale. But in social sciences, you can have quantitative scale as well as qualitative scale. Now, so tell me, what does this social status and prejudice are? What are they?
Qualitative scale.
They are qualitative scale, and they may be either nominal or they may be ordinal. So what are nominal and ordinal scales? So let us discuss nominal scale. The nominal scale simply identify categories and classify people into different categories. That is, the sort the people on the basis of, let's say, religion, or classify them on the basis of their religion. And then you must know the reason why do you want to classify them into various kinds of religions. Because after all, human beings are human beings irrespective of religion which they belong to. So, so the question as to why do you want to classify people on the basis of religion is a different question. But we are right now only discussing nominal scale, or what it is all about. So let us say you have 100, there are 75 students in your class. Some students may be Christians, some may be Muslims, some may be Sikh. What happened? Connection lost. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So can we tell like
Okay,
it classifies objects in some categories?
yeah, you can say so,
Okay.
into various categories. So
Okay.
basically what we are saying is that some people are classified into, say, on the basis of religion. Some will be Christians, some will be Muslims, some will be Hindus, some will be Sikhs, some will be Parsis, and so on and so forth. So this is the first thing. This remote connection is lost. That is why I'm not being able to write on the presentation. But till such time, I will just keep presenting and without writing anything. Okay. So this is what we call nominal scale. Now remember that in nominal scale, no category is either more or less. They are mutually exclusive and exhaustive. So there are three important points that you need to consider here. Three important points. What are those three? One is that no one is either more or less. So we cannot say Christianity is better than Hinduism, or Hinduism is better than Islam, or Islam is better than Sikhism. So this is only category, and we just do not know which category is more or which category is less. This is the first thing. Second thing is that they are mutually exclusive. Normally, say if I ask a person, what is your religion? Then the person should be able to say that he or she belongs to one or the other kind of religion, or no religion at all. But you cannot say that I am also Christian, I am also Muslim, I am also Hindu, I am also Parsi, I am also Sikh. In that case, I will not be able to classify into one and only one category. So one of the important characteristics of nominal scale is that the categories should be mutually exclusive. What does mutually exclusive mean? It means that one person can belong to only one category. The person cannot belong to two categories. Why are we calling it mutually exclusive? Because one category excludes the other category. If the one category is Christian, then the other category cannot be included in Christianity. For example, Muslims cannot be included in Christianity. So that is the point that I'm trying to say. That first point is that it is neither more or less. Second is it is mutually exclusive. That is, one person should be classified only one and only one category. And third, it should be exhaustive. That if there are 100 persons in your survey, all 100 persons should be able to find one or the other category. Christian, Muslim, no Muslim, Christian, Muslim, Hindu, Sikh, Parsi, no religion. In one of the category, you should be able to classify them. So that is what we call exhaustive. And then the next is nominal scales possess the properties of symmetry. What is symmetry? Symmetry means if one category is equal to the other category, that is, if A is equal to B, then B is also equal, and if B is equal to A, if A is equal to B, then B is equal to A. Is clear? If A is equal to B, then B is equal to A. This is what we call symmetry. And transitivity. What is transitivity? What is transitivity? Just hold on for a moment. I'm trying to reconnect. Okay. What is transitivity? Transitivity is if A is equal to B, B is equal to C, then category A is same as C. So nominal scale possesses properties of symmetry. If A equal to B, then it simply means B is also equal to A. And if A is equal to B and B equal to C, then A is equal to C. So this is the first thing. Then the numbers which use here are codes and cannot be mathematically operated. Say, for example, you code Christianity as 1, you code Hinduism as 2, Islam as 3, and so on. So 1 is only a code. It is just a code and nothing else. And you cannot add 1 and 2 to make it 3. Are you understanding what I'm saying? That these codes are numbers, but you cannot perform addition or subtraction or multiplication or division on these codes. That is why we are saying that they are mathematically non-manipulable. For example, another example, the room numbers in a hotel or the flat numbers in an apartment. Does it make sense to add two room numbers? Say 301 plus 302. Does it make any sense?
No,
It
sir.
does not make any sense. So these
No,
are the
sir.
4 important properties of nominal scales. Then the next scale is ordinal scale, which is a little higher than nominal scale. In nominal scale, also we have categories, but the categories are now either more or less than the other categories. Say, for example, if you rate your teacher's performance or if you rate contestants in beauty contest, then you can have different categories like uh, excellent, very good, good, average, not so good, very bad, or bad, something like that. So when you have categories like those, then they are also categories, but here you know that some category is less and some category is more. So you are all aware of the way contestants in beauty contest are classified. For example, uh, finally you have a beauty queen, you have the first runners up, and you have the second runners up. Now, what does that mean? These are the 3 categories. The beauty queen is the best of them all. The first runners up is not so much as the winner, but is better than the second runners up, and second runners up is better than all other contestants which participated in the contest, but is not as good as the first runners up and the winner. But we just do not know by how much do they differ from each other. So we cannot say that the first runners up is 20% more beautiful than the second runners up, or the winner is 40% more beautiful than the first runners up and 70% beautiful than the second runners up. So we know which is more, which is less, but we do not know by how much. So this is one important point. Just I'm trying to again connect with my iPad so that I can show lots of things. How I okay, so there we are. Then the next is, what are the properties of an ordinal scale? So here also the property of symmetry holds. If A is equal to B, therefore B is equal to A. But it can also be asymmetric. If A is greater than B, then we cannot say that B is greater than A. So if excellent is greater than very good, then the other way around cannot be true. Very good cannot be greater than excellent. So asymmetric is not true. So this is one more property. And what about the transitivity property here? What about the transitivity property? The transitivity property still holds. That is, if A is greater than B, B is greater than C, then it simply follows that A is greater than C. For example, if beauty queen is better than first runners up is better than second runners up, then it simply means that beauty queen is better than second runners up. But what we are emphasizing on is the magnitude of the difference is not known. So we can say that the distance A to D, the distance A to D is equal to AB plus BC plus CD. But we cannot attempt to compare the distances AB and CD. We cannot compare. We cannot say that AB is more than CD or CD is more than AB. What we can say is they add up to AD, but we cannot say which is more by how much. So the magnitude is not known, and that is a problem. So most ranks which we find are only telling us that who is better, who is not so better, but we do not know who is better by how much. That is called ordinal scale. And the next one, and these two are called qualitative scales, I have already told you. The next one is interval and ratio scales. So what are interval and ratio scales? So they possesses all the properties of an ordinal scale, but here we are not only able to say category A is better than category B or B is better than C, but we are also able to say by how much. For example, take length, temperature, weight, income, they all have precise measurements, but no such measures exist for something called prestige, intelligence, or prejudice. So I'll give you one simple example, and I'll ask you one or two simple questions. Suppose there are two places whose temperatures have been recorded at the same point in time on the same day. Let us say 11 o'clock today. 11 o'clock today. Ranchi had recorded, let us say, a temperature of 25 degrees Celsius, and Shimla had recorded a temperature of 12.5 degrees Celsius, also at 11 a.m. today. So, which is a hotter place?
Sir, Ranchi.
Ranchi, sir.
Hotter? Okay, by how much?
Karachi.
12.5.
So Ranchi is hotter by 12.5 degrees Celsius. So note this important thing. You are not only able to say that Ranchi is hotter, or Shimla is cooler, but you are also able to say by how much is Ranchi hotter and by how much Shimla is cooler. So this magnitude is an important factor. And when we are able to find out the difference between the two categories, then we can say that they belong to internal scale. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Now next is, let us attempt to calculate ratio between Ranchi and Shimla. What is the ratio between the two?
2:1.
25 divided by 12.5, which is equal to 2:1. What does it mean? How can you interpret this number? 2:1?
Ranchi is twice as hotter as Shimla.
Ranchi is 2 times hotter than Shimla.
Shimla.
Now, is it correct interpretation of the temperatures at these two places? We say that Ranchi is twice as hot as Shimla, or Shimla is half as cool as Ranchi. Can we say that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, some people are saying that we say that, but think of the same. Convert this Celsius into Fahrenheit and then calculate the ratio. Will we get the same ratio as 2:1?
No, sir.
We
Yes,
will
sir.
get a different ratio. This time we will get a different ratio. So, what do you say? Should we say that it is twice as hot or half as cool? And why are we getting a different ratio every time we are calculating it? So I believe I'm very bad in physics. I think there is another measure of temperature. I suppose that is Kelvin.
Kelvin.
Yeah. It is
77 volt.
Kelvin.
So if you convert degrees Celsius into Kelvin, again the ratio will change. Why is this happening? And before you answer this question, let me give you another example. Suppose income of A is 100 rupees and B is 200 rupees. Can we say that B has twice as much money as A?
No, sir.
Why not? B has
Yes,
200,
sir.
A has
Yes,
Yes, yes, sir.
200. Why not?
Yes, sir.
Here you can calculate the ratio 200 by 100 or 100 by 200. But here you should not. In case of temperature or intelligence, you should not calculate. You know why?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
No,
The
sir.
scales of measurements are different.
Answer is given here. Because in case of temperature, there is not a non-arbitrary zero. You must have a non-arbitrary zero in order to make ratios meaningful. What is a non-arbitrary zero? So, tell me, what does 0 degrees Celsius temperature mean?
Ice.
0 degrees Celsius temperature means
Condition where water
sorry.
freezes.
Let me explain you. Absolute zero. What is absolute zero?
So
And what
273
is
Kelvin.
273 degrees Celsius, no, minus 70 degrees Celsius. Right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And then there is 0 degrees Celsius. So there are two zeros. One is just zero and the other one is absolute zero. It means that zero is not defined in a unique way. There is no unique definition of zero in this case. We are defining zero the way we want to define it. So basically, what is a non-arbitrary zero? A non-arbitrary zero means total absence of something. Total absence of something. So if you say that temperature is 0 degrees Celsius, it does not mean that there is total absence of temperature. But when you say that Mr. Ram has zero income, then it simply means that Mr. Ram has no income at all. There is a complete absence of income. So that is the meaning of the term non-arbitrary zero. And in case you have a non-arbitrary zero, ratios are not meaningful, but they are still interval scale, because as someone said that the difference between Shimla and Ranchi is 12.5 degrees Celsius. But we cannot say that Shimla is half as cool or Ranchi is twice as hot, simply because temperature is not defined in terms of an absolutely unique zero. There is no non-arbitrary zero in case of temperature, and same holds good in case of intelligence also. If someone says that your score in intelligence quotient test is zero, what does it mean? That you should be sent to a Pagal Khana or what? Doesn't mean that, no? It doesn't mean that you have total absence of something, but it means that you have less intelligence. Likewise, if temperature is 0 degree, it means the temperature is quite low, but it doesn't mean it is not there. So what is the difference between interval scale and ratio scale? In interval scale, the difference between the two categories can be measured. The distance between the two categories can be measured. But in terms of ratio scale, you can not only measure the difference between the two categories, but you can also calculate ratios quite meaningfully. You know, one last thing. When you are saying Shimla is half as cool as Ranchi, you can still say that because mathematically it is still working out like that. But it does not make sense the way it should. That is the reason why we try to sometimes differentiate between interval and ratio scales. But remember, when it comes to choosing statistical technique in order to apply them, we generally do not distinguish between these scales. We consider these scales same. Okay, so that is all for today. You are most welcome to ask questions. Thank you.
Sir, if you don't mind, can you please tell the difference? Actually, the network was very disturbing at that time. The difference between interval
What is
and
the
ratio.
I'll tell you.
Yeah.
The difference between interval and ratio scale is of only non-arbitrary zero. In ratio scale, the variable has a non-arbitrary zero, whereas in interval scale, some variables may not have a non-arbitrary zero. For example, temperature. Temperature is a perfectly measurable variable. But since temperature does not have a unique zero, therefore temperature is not something which we can classify under ratio scale. When will temperature be classified under ratio scale? When zero temperature would mean absence of temperature. So long as zero does not mean zero, then it is not a ratio scale. In order for something to qualify as a ratio scale, zero must mean zero. That is total absence of something. Am I clear?
Yes, sir. Yes. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Anything else?
Sir, hello.
Would like?
Sir, Lokesh this side.
Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
Sir, in ordinary scale, the transitivity still holds. If A is greater than B, B is greater than C, then A is greater than C. The magnitude one thing explained in that, I can't able to understand that thing.
So very simple. Absolutely very simple. Let me just try to explain. Suppose you have three places. Ranchi, Shimla, and and let's say Uti. Ranchi, Shimla, and Uti. Ranchi is 30, Shimla is 20, Uti is 10. So Ranchi is greater than Shimla, Shimla is greater than Uti, therefore Ranchi is greater than Uti. Now, by how much is Ranchi greater than Uti?
Twenty. So you're not audible.
Yeah, actually power had gone.
Okay.
So I think now I am audible, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So basically transitivity means Ranchi is greater than Shimla, Shimla is greater than Uti, therefore Ranchi is greater than Uti. And not only that, we also know by how much is Ranchi greater than Shimla and Ranchi is greater than Uti. But if you have an ordinal scale, then let us uh, imagine that you have uh, a rating scale of a teacher in terms of very poor, poor, average, good, very good. So these are the 5 points. क्या क्या बोले हम 5 क्या क्या point बोले? Very poor, poor, average, good, very good. Now we know that good is better than excellent, or good is excellent than very good. We also know that good, let me rephrase it. Average is less than good. Good is less than very good. Therefore, average is less than very good. But by how much is average less than very good, or by how much is average less than good, that is something which we do not know under ordinal scale.
Okay, sir.
Is this clear?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yeah. Any other question? And remember this thing. When you want to apply some statistics to some data set, what is the first thing that you should ask yourself? What is the first thing that you should ask yourself?
The data is correct or not?
No, you should ask yourself what is the scale of the
What
data?
kind of data?
What is the scale? Whether it is nominal scale, whether it is ordinal scale, whether it is interval ratio scale. Because if it is a nominal scale, normally you cannot apply arithmetic mean or standard deviation. When it is an interval or ratio scale, then you can use arithmetic mean. So basically, statistical techniques are scale specific. You got to know what is the scale of the data, then only you will be able to apply a correct statistical analysis. अगर वो पता नहीं होगा ना आपको कि कौन सा स्केल है, तो फिर आपको ये भी पता नहीं होगा कि कौन सा स्टैटिस्टिक्स अपनाएं, उसमें लगाएं. So that is why we say that statistical techniques are scale specific. You have different techniques for qualitative data. You have a very different set of statistical techniques for quantitative data. So that's why you should know them. What is the scale of a particular data? So from next class onwards, we will start a discussion on various kinds of statistics or various kinds of statistical techniques like measures of central tendency, then measures of dispersion. And we will not spend too much time on them because I'm pretty sure that every one of you has studied it at some point in time, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Every one of you has studied it at some point in time.
Yes.
So that is the point. Yeah.
Sir, I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So yesterday you were telling about inductive logic and deductive logic.
Yeah.
Can you tell me something more about it because the concept is still not clear?
Well, very simple, my dear friend, very simple. Let me define it in a very different way.
Okay, sir.
When you go from general to specific, when you go from general to specific, then it is called deductive logic. And the opposite, when you go from specifics to general, then it is called inductive logic. Let me give you an example. All human beings are mortal. Ram is a man or a human being. Therefore, Ram is mortal. So there are three statements. All men are mortal. Ram is a man. Therefore, Ram is mortal. So what have we done here? We have started with a general statement. क्या है general statement? All men
Are
are
mortal.
mortal. फिर next statement क्या है? Ram is
Is
a
a
man.
man.
So that is a specific example of man.
Yes, sir.
And conclusion क्या है? Therefore, Ram is mortal. So
Yes.
the conclusion that we have drawn is applicable for just one person in this case. But this conclusion, which we have drawn for only Mr. Ram, has been drawn on the basis of a general conclusion that everyone who has taken birth has to die. Since Ram is also someone who has taken birth, he also has to die. So from general, we have moved to specific. But just turn it upside down. You will get what is called inductive logic. So Ram is a good person, Shyam is a good person, Suman is a good person, Sonakshi is a good person, Soumya is a good person, Steffi is a good person, Tanvi, Vidushi, they are good person. Therefore, all the students in HRM1 are good. What is this an example of?
Deductive logic.
Inductive logic.
Yes,
This
sir.
is an
Inductive.
example of inductive logic. What do we do in inductive logic? We start with individuals and then conclude about everybody.
Specific to general.
What do we do under deduction? We start with everybody, then we draw conclusion about an individual.
Okay.
Clear?
Sir, Saurabh this side.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hello. Sir, Saurabh this side.
Yes,
Sir,
Saurabh.
just want to ask that which book should we refer for this subject?
There are many books which you can refer to for this. But the best book that I have found for my purposes is Blalock. Blalock. Let me see if I can write it down on screen for your benefit. Let's see. Connect for a moment, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is the author name, Blalock H.M. Jr. The name of the text is Social Statistics. But I believe this is a difficult book to read. Therefore, if you can get a copy of this book, Sanders B.H. Statistics of First Course, even this will do. But unfortunately, this book is not normally available in India. So there is another one which is a very popular book among students of management. Is called uh, it's called Levin.
Sir, you're not audible.
So please
Sir, you
unmute
are on
yourself.
mute. Sir, you are on mute, sir.
Sir, you're on mute.
Okay. All right. Okay. Am I audible now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Am I audible now? Okay. So I can see that there are only 74 present. So who was present a while ago but has disconnected or left? So that person will be marked absent then. So I'm taking the attendance now. I have taken attendance. Another person seems to have been marked absent because that person left or what? Okay, let me try again. Okay, so that's it. Thank you very much, guys. See you tomorrow, same time for economics class. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Excuse me, sir.
Huh?
Sir, am I audible, sir?
Yeah, you are.
Sir, I have a doubt, sir. As you explained that the process of data collection is performed by the researcher and the process of data analysis is performed by the statistician. So I just wanted to know whether who decides the relevance and authenticity of the data? So is it the researcher or the statistician?
The researcher. A statistician technically has nothing to do with purity of data. They only are concerned with data analysis. They have nothing to do with whether data is correct, incorrect. Whatever you give them, they will analyze it. But remember, this is only technically correct. Practically, this does not happen. Practically, a statistician must know whether the quality of data is suspect or whether it is reliable. And technically, a researcher should also know what kind of statistical techniques I shall apply.
Okay, sir. Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So
You were telling the names of the
sir,
books.
name of the books. The
And the
third book actually we didn't
third
get.
book, yeah. Yes, sir.
So
The
third
order
book
was
is
disrupted.
Levin and Rubin. Levin, Levin and Rubin. Rubin. Levin and Rubin. This is statistics for management or something like that. You will find plenty of references of this book on the internet.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.